Want to join the Sugyah Live? WhatsApp plus 19148 936 848 or email us at info@theshmuz.com. This is your chance to truly grow and elevate your learning experience. Thanks for joining today's session. The Sugyah is available live every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. You will receive More Makomos and will be in direct contact with Rabbi Shafier and the Sugyah community.
As Avosai, Rishim Galil said, no person was Machabit his father as I did. Umatsasi Shekibit Esav Lavi Yosem Mini. And I found that Esav was Machabit his father more than I was. Matnas Kun explains what does it mean Lochib Biria. Biyamav Lora Lo Shama Shekorim Lechak Lo Ayami Shekibed. In his days, he didn't hear or see, or earlier than that, anyone who treated his father more respect. Now, remember the Gemara Kedushim where this Amora would bend down so his father, so the mother could step on his back to get into bed. And this Amora, the mother's slipper ripped. He put his hand under. You know, the stories of Kibbut Avaim that are like exemplary beyond anything we can imagine. So says Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, I went over all of them. I chazed all of the stories, and everyone that I've seen, I didn't meet a single human being who treated his parents with the kind of respect that I treated my parents, and I did not reach Esav's Kibbut Avaim. What is it referring to? The Medrash tells us further. Kate said, when I would serve my father, I'd put on Kalim Soim. I'd act like a waiter, so I'd put on dirty clothing, so I wouldn't be afraid of staining them because I wanted to service my father. When then I go out to the shuk, I see Mashlichos on Kalim, I take off those clothing, and Lovish Kalim Naim, I put on my respectable clothing. Yotzim, with those I go out in the street. Aval Esav lo yasa kain. Esav didn't do that. Ela osan kalim share lovesh mishamish bam. Rather, those kalim that he wore and he served his father with. Esav heimu ulim. Those are the best. Esav wore his best clothing, his Sunday best. He wore in to serve his father, and I didn't reach anywhere near that madrega. Okay, now let's focus on what these begadim were that he wore. So the pasuk says, "Vatikach Rivka's big day Esav ben Gadol." Right, basically, Yaakov says to Esav, go out, go find something, go shecht it, go catch something, and prepare it, and prepare a meal. So I'll then give you the bracha. And Rivka hears this and says to Yaakov, I want you to go quickly, bring me 2 gedei Esav, and bring me 2 gedim, and we'll prepare them. We'll put the on your arms. We'll put the goat skin, and I'm going to give you the begadim of Esav. And you'll wear them in, and you'll fool Yitzchak because his eyesight is gone. Okay, but Tikach Rivka's big day Esav ben Agadol Achamudos. Rivka took the big day Esav, her oldest son, the Chamudos, the precious or desired ones. Asher ita b'bayit, that was with her in the house. But Tilba shish Yaakov ben Akotan, and she put them on Yaakov, her younger son. She put them on Yaakov. What does this mean? Hachamudos. So one pshat Rashi in the kiosk, clean ones. Davar acher. He was chomed them from Nimrod. The Dasakenu explains to us what happened. Adam Rishon made, when Adam Rishon was thrown out of Gan Eden, Hashem made for Adam a beged. This beged was a long cloak. On it was Mitzayir, all of the animals in the kingdom, in the wild, and it was so realistic that when animals would see it, they would flock to this coat because it looked like images of animals of their kind. And basically, this was taken, Adam had it, Noach ended up taking it on the Teva, Nimrod somehow ended up with these begadim. Now, Nimrod was a Gibar Tzayid, he was a great hunter because the Medrash tells us he would go out into the woods wearing these begadim, and all the animals would flock to him, he'd shoot them at close range, he was shooting fish in a barrel. In any case, the Medrash tells, Dasken brings the Medrash that says that Esav saw these begadim and he was chomed them, he desired them, and he killed Nimrod to take them. Basically, he killed a man for his coat. So that these would have begadim chamudos, and they were in Rivka's house. Now, Asher ita b'bayis, we're in the house. Frek Rashi the Kash, what were they doing in Rivka's house? Esav had many wives. Why didn't he just keep them by his wives? Why is he putting it by his mother? Esav was familiar with his wives, and he was choshed that who knows what they would do with it. Only his mother he could trust, so he left it by his mother. So these begadim, which were the special begadim, were the ones that Esav would serve his father. He didn't care about the fact that maybe he got stained, maybe he got dirty, whatever. He would serve his father wearing them, and it happened to be that Rivka said, "Listen, you're going to go in, wear the begadim that Esav normally wears, and you'll fool Yaakov." So says Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, when I read this pasuk, I realized that as great as my kibbut av v'aim was, I didn't begin to reach Esav's level. All right, gentlemen, so far so good?
Except Rebbe just means full Yitzchak, right?
I'm sorry, what did I say? I'm sorry. My apologies, yeah. All right, so far so good?
Yep.
Is Rebbe reading the second Rashi that regardless of Davar Acher, it was still the same reasoning? I mean, even if it was just white clothes, it was just clean clothes, he couldn't trust his wives to keep clean clothes?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but all right, let's proceed. Now, so far everything is wonderful, right? Except I have a little problem. And this is deep into their life already. They're not kids anymore. And we're talking Yaakov is 64, Esav is 64. They happen to be twins, so they're about the same age, a few minutes apart. So they're 64, 67 or 65. I forgot the math. 60, I think 64, because they said in Yeshiva Avis 14 years. He was 77. He was 63. I'm sorry, 63 years of age. Okay. The point is, this is many, many years deep into their life. Let's look at an event a little bit earlier in their life when they turned 15. When they turned 15, Vayazid Yaakov Nazid, Yaakov cooked lentils. Vayavo Esav and Esav came from the Sada and he was tired. Now, why was Yaakov cooking Nazid, cooking lentils? Because that was the day that Avram Avinu died. The Gemara tells us Avram Avinu was supposed to live to 180, but Esav turned 15. When Esav turned 15, he went totally latar basra, and rather than having Avram see his grandson go off the derech, Hashem took him earlier, so he left. So instead of living to 180, Hashem took him at 175. Yaakov is preparing lentils because it's a day of Avelis. It's his father's. He's going to be sitting shiva for his grandfather, his father's father. So Esav comes from the Sodeh v'hu ayef. Esav is tired. What does ayef mean? Rashi explains ayef min haretzicha, and Rashi's quoting the Shmuz Rabbah. Chamesh averos avar Esav harasha bosa yom. 5 averos Esav harasha was over that day. Ba al Nair Mursa. Number 1, he lived with Nair Mursa. Number 2, haragas a nefesh. He killed somebody. Cover with Tiyas Mason. He was kofar. Tiyas Mason. The cover biki denying Hashem ubiza as the bechora, and he embarrassed the bechora.
Rabbi, an interesting point out of this is that you see Hashem's exacting to the mamash to the day. Hashem he took Avram because he had to take him, but he took him. He was mamash right then. He took him. And Avelis, just the day that Esav was going to do the Avera, he mamash took him right then, right away before. Not any earlier than that.
I hear. Yeah, good point. All right. So what do we learn? That forget Esav when he was 63. Esav when he was 15 was a Russia Marusha. 5 of it. But listen to the Averas. He lived with an Nair Ursa. He killed a person. Kafar b'tchias mesim. Kafar b'ika. Now he had lots of years between 15 and 63 to be a lot worse. Anyone here where I'm headed with this? What's the obvious question now, gentlemen?
Why don't you tell us the obvious question?
Okay, watch this. There's no Olam Haba, right? There's no God. There's no Torah. Why is Esav so makbid on kibbut av v'aim? He's so makbid. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, the great tzaddik, says, I didn't reach the toenails. In fact, in one place, Medrash says, I wasn't 100th of Esav's kibbut av v'aim. But Esav, there was no Olam Haba, no God. What is he doing kibbut av v'aim for? What's he steiging in mitzvahs? It doesn't matter.
He thought it was the right thing to do, not because he thought it was a Torah-dic thing to do.
But he was a Russia Marusha, an evil, wicked person. He was Hamas.
But he liked his father. He liked his father. For whatever reason, he liked his father.
His father stood for Judaism. Asa stood for the opposite. His father
still liked him. He didn't do it for the mitzvah. You just said he didn't do it for the mitzvah, but he did it. Not for the mitzvah.
Okay, what are you saying? What are you saying?
I'm saying that that, when we explain Taimei mitzvos, we say Taimei mitzvos. It's a tam. It's a taste of the mitzvah. We don't really know the reasons for any of the mishpatim. None of them. Not one. But we know that we get a taste of the mitzvos. But we do them because the Rebbeinu Shalom commanded us to do them. He was doing it not for the mitzvah. He was doing it because it was his moral compass.
Okay. Dov, I couldn't agree more. Okay.
But I have the wrong answer.
No, you're 100% right.
Okay.
The Sefer Chinuch explains that there are certain mitzvahs that are just so intuitive that they're humanistic. And it's like any normal human being should do them. You don't need a Torah to tell you. You don't need a Torah to tell you that if someone did for you good, you have to do good for them back. Meaning, I have a simple illustration. Because I was a high school Rebbe, and I went back to that this week. Monday and Tuesday, you know what I was doing? I was teaching 11th grade, so I got a chance to remember the old days. Anyway, so I used to tell the guys, let me ask you a question. You guys know how to tie your shoes? Who taught you how to tie your shoe? You guys know how to read? Who taught you to read? Who taught you olive base? Who taught you how to hold a fork? Who taught everything that you are, you owe to your parents. The fact that you're half a mensch, the fact you know how to tie your shoes, the fact you know how to put on a shirt, the fact that you wear deodorant, the fact that you brush your teeth is for one reason and one reason only, because your parents took care of you. In whose bed do you sleep? Whose clothing do you wear? Who pays for your tuition? The debt that a child has to his parents is unending and is impossible to pay back, because the simple reality is what our parents do for us is beyond anything we could ever even think of paying back. Because there's only one thing the parent asks from the child, and that's something called nachas. All the parent wants is what's good for the child. All the parent cares about is how the child will flourish. And the parent gives and gives and gives, and all the child gives back is chutzpah and mouth and whatever. Okay, but the point is that this relationship is the most one-sided relationship in existence. A parent to a child is a relationship where the parent gives and the child receives. Now, unfortunately, we have a very short historical memory. And what did you do for me this morning? Not what you did for me yesterday. What did you do for me this afternoon? And if it wasn't within 2 hours, it's gone and it's forgotten. But Esav had a very pure heart. Even though he was a Russia, he had the kochos to be one of the others. Could have been on the level of Yaakov Avinu. He went south, but he had a very, very pure neshama. And what he recognized was that everything that he owes to his parents. The fact that he knows how to walk, the fact that he knows how to talk, everything, by the way, UNICEF counts now there are 275 million children on the planet who are illiterate. Illiterate means not just ADD, meaning literally can't read. I have another seer. They say the cost of raising a Gentile child today is approximately they say like $285,000. But I just like to point out to you that is only assuming that it's a goyish child, meaning it's $285,000 to raise a child from 0 to 18. But that doesn't include yeshiva tuition. It doesn't include camp. It doesn't include kosher food. It doesn't include the lifestyle that we live. I have to believe it costs anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million to raise a kid today, from birth till you take him to the wedding, and that's not even assuming you pay for kolo. If you assume you pay for kolo, it's even more. So just the financial, this amount of dollars and cents that our parents spent on us should fill us with a sense of what could I ever do to repay? Now, Esav, again, was a Russia, but nevertheless, he had a neshama that could potentially been a gadol of Yaakovinu's proportions. And if we felt this unbridled sense of what could I ever do to pay you back? What could I ever do to pay my parents back? All that they've done for me. And despite the fact that it was a Russia, he had this tremendous sense, and he steiged in kibbutz, as Dov said perfectly, not because for the mitzvah, not for Olam Haba, not for God, but because how could I not do this? How could I not pay back that which I owe? Now, what does this mean to us? So some of us are Yosomim. What can I tell you? At a certain point in life, you become a Yosom. I no longer have parents. So I can't, but I do have children. So I'm on the other side. So, but if you're still fortunate enough to have parents, it's whatever you could. By the way, I remember clearly every out Shabbos when I was in yeshiva, every out Shabbos, before the out Shabbos, I would go through the Gemara and Kedushin, and I go through stories of Kibbut Av Ha'im, because just like to stir up in my mind how a Jew's supposed to act. But in any case, if you're still fortunate enough to have parents, then it's something to think about. But I think there's even a much bigger lesson to us in this concept, and that is, I am a mamin. At least I mouth the words that I believe in God. And I also mouth the word that I believe that God intercedes in my life on a regular basis. I say modi menachlach on the secha on the flosecha shebchol eis erev avoket tzarayim. Every day, 3 times a day, I say the words, Hashem, I acknowledge, recognize the miracles that you do for me. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. What am I saying? Let's imagine for a minute that there's 13 billion light years of expanse, 100 billion galaxies. And we find somewhere in this huge, huge expanse, somewhere we say, oh, look at that, the Milky Way galaxy. I see it. There it is. Oh, 100 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy somewhere. Oh, planet Earth. Oh, look, there it is. Yeah, planet Earth. On planet Earth, 7.5 billion people. Oh, there's Schaefer. Oh, little Schaefer. Oh, yeah. Let me help you. Let me take care. Do you understand the audacity for me to even mouth the words that Hashem is involved in my life? Do you understand what that means? The King of Kings, the Creator is intimately involved in the running concern with my issues, my trouble. Bottom line is, gentlemen, if we had any purity of heart, there'd be a sense of unbridled appreciation. Hashem, what you've showered me with. I have bracha, I have eyesight, I have a sense of hearing, I have feelings. I live in a generation where there's such wealth and abundance. Hashem, my life is so rich. And I recognize Ashkach, I recognize your divine intervention, your divine providence, how you interfere, you help my life. The sense of unbridled appreciation. Now, the Chovos HaLevavos, which was written 1,000 years ago, writes that the main center point of our avodas Hashem, the main driving force, should be a sense of appreciation. Now, I'd like to point out that the Mesillas Yesharim, which was written about 250 years ago, didn't use that as a center point of motivation. And Mesillas Yesharim focused on Olam Haba. And I believe the reason is because 750 years passed from the Chovos HaLevavos till Mesillas Yesharim, and the generations were much, much weaker. But there once was a time where the Chovos HaLevavos could say, if you delve on the fact of how much Hashem does for us, how much you owe Hashem, there should be an unbridled sense of Hashem, what could I ever do to pay you back? And that should be the driving force in all of your avodas Hashem. Now, even if it's true that we're not going to reach that level, and maybe, it's not going to be the driving force, but I think there should be a very real powerful force within us of, Hashem, what could I do to pay you back? At least let me appreciate what you do for me. At least let me recognize it, acknowledge it, and thank you. But so I think there are 2 lessons here. One is keep it off directly, and 2, in terms of our relationship with Hashem. All right, so let's stop here. Any thoughts, observations?
So
Rabbi,
Wait, Dov, head first. Dov.
I'm currently, as you know, in Avelis for my mother, and it's something that I came across was, why do we have Avelis for a year for a parent and only a month for a spouse? And that's because the year is kibbut Ava, is meant to be mechabed your parents,
right?
But they're not. So what is kibbut if they're not here to see it?
This is the time the Chai Adam brings down. And this is the only time we can really do kibbut aveim properly. Why? Because now you're really able to do for your parents. Any mitzvah that you do now, any learning that you do is for them, is a schus. It gives them an aliyah, and that's the real kibbut av. And the
without
real
getting anything in return, without getting anything.
Right, meaning you're not expecting, you're not getting anything. You're giving now. And
right. So I find that's one of the reasons I've been a little bit more machmir on my minhagim in Avelis, because I wasn't the greatest of sons. My mother and I had very different lifestyles. It just didn't stem. So in order for me so I'm doing it now to the best that I can, so it accomplishes that.
All right, but anything you could do in learning and stuck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, those things are tremendous. That's an Elul nishma. It's directly. It's the only chesed you could do directly. Again, as Ben Pesach says, without expecting anything in return, because you're really being neshama. When you say kaddish, when you say these things are tremendous Elul for neshama. Yeah.
If this is true, how could Esav be kafir b'ikr? If he was able to recognize the parents, because the Sfarim all talk about how Kibbud Av leads you to my Mamonos Hashem. It's the next logical conclusion. If you thank Hashem, they're just the shluchim. If you thank the parents, they're just the shluchim. Thank Hashem. So how Esav was?
The problem is that God makes certain demands on me. Like I can't steal other people's wives. I can't kill people. I can't steal coats. So that's pushing it too much. Meaning I appreciate, but if it means I got to change my lifestyle, forget it. By the way,
was a self-serving thing?
Esav didn't change his lifestyle for his parents either. I mean, he still was an Oved of Avodah. He's still a Kofar B'ikr. Meaning he respected him, but there's a limit. I can't come, you can interfere with my professional life. That's pushing it. Meaning God makes way too many demands on me for me to actually, stick with that program. That I can't do. I could, and by the way, the consistency in other words, I can't live with the inconsistency of owing God and disobeying his orders. So therefore, my only choice is to get rid of God.
Interesting. Sounds like a lot of these. A lot of Gedolim say today there's no true kofrim, that there's only people who are of taiva, and the taiva leads them to come up with experience. Sounds almost like that.
Now, one step I remember hearing from the Yeshiva Zatzal, I don't know if this is his Shmuz, but one step I remember hearing clearly was the Yeshiva Zatzal asked the following: so why didn't Reb Shimon Gamliel change his ways? Meaning, he used to wear begadim, sew him to serve his father, then go to the shuk and wear his nice begadim. He read about Esav who did the opposite. So why didn't Reb Shimon Gamliel then say, from that on in, I was just like Esav, and I too wore my begadim knowing to my father? You hear the kasha?
Yeah, I remember Yeshiva asked that. He also asked the same thing. How come the guy didn't wait 24 hours? As my father waited 24 hours between milchiks and fleishiks. So how come you don't wait 24 hours between milchiks and fleishiks? The same question. The same question.
Well, I don't think so. But anyone, if you hear anyone hear the question? Why? What?
Would you repeat the question?
Yes. Meaning, Esav, Reb Shimon Gamliel used to serve his father with begadim, with his waiter's clothes. And then when he'd leave his father's presence, he'd put on his nice clothes to go into the shuk. He reads about Esav, who did the opposite. Esav put on his big day chamudas to serve his father, and then he would leave him by his mother's house and go wear his other clothing. So Reb Shimon says, I see that Esav had greater kibbud av aim than I, because I don't do that. I do the opposite. So once Reb Shimon learned the pasuk, why didn't Reb Shimon change and start serving his father, wearing his big day chamudas, his best clothing, his Sunday best, and do just like Esav? He'd be the same as Esav.
Especially once he was accepting that was the right way to do it, and he should have been the way to go.
He should change. So the Shiva Zatzal said, "L'chori, you have to say like this." Shimon Gamliel was afraid of the following: he'll wear his Sunday best to serve his father, and he'll serve the soup, and the soup will spill on his clothing, and he'll get angry, and he'll say something, and he'll be disrespectful. It was too risky. He couldn't take the chance that maybe he would be disrespectful to his father, and because he realized the begadim were very expensive, and he might slip, and he might get upset. Therefore, it wasn't worth the chance. So therefore, why didn't Esav have that problem? The answer is Esav, it wasn't shy for him to get angry. It's such respect, such awe. I can't get it. So the begadim chamudas, my precious garment I killed somebody for, will get stained. I'm not going to yell at my father. I'm not going to get angry at my father. You hear what it's saying? That's a chiddush nor of an ifla.
Rabbi's right. It's a slightly different shmuz. These two shmuz are similar. The other one said he's basically said you can't be on that level. I'm not on that level. But on a fake level, it doesn't count.
Right. Don't jump. Right. Don't jump into Vegas. That was the garlic one. Right. All right. We're good. You guys here? What's the moral of the story?
Respect your parents.
Respect your parents. But respect your parents because it's a moral. Because it's a humanistic. It's what you should do. It's the right thing to do, not because God said to. I mean, listen, we do it because Hashem said to do it, but because it's the right. It's like that's what a human being should feel. I should feel an unbridled sense of appreciation for what others have done for me, what my parents have done for me, what my teachers have done for me, what my spouse does for me, what my children do. Meaning, I should feel a tremendous sense of appreciation of unbridled. What could I do to pay you back for what you've done for me? Now, unfortunately, that feeling is not that common. Even if we get past the entitlement feeling, the feeling is, I don't owe nothing to nobody. Nobody did anything. Listen, if God would ever do one thing for me, I'd be the first to thank him, but my life stinks. My wife, if she did anything for me, I'd thank her. She doesn't do anything. My kids are losers. My parents, they never gave me anything. They're abusive. They didn't give me every car. They didn't give me a car when I was 16. And they didn't buy me the fanciest clothes. I was abused. I had a terrible childhood. So because we have this attitude of not just entitlement, but like lack, there's such a lack of a hakaras hatov. It's frightening. It's beyond description. What I expect everything. I owe nothing to nobody. And there's a sense of just, it's a very sad, by the way, you know why it's sad? Besides the lack of menschlichkeit, the guy is the poorest guy in the world. You see, I really feel my life stinks. I have nothing. I have no bracha, nothing good in my life. My life stinks. My life is really, really, of course I thank God if I had something, my life stinks. What a horrible way to live. You know what I'm saying? Forget Hashem, forget Avodas Hashem. It's a horrible way to live. If you don't train yourself to appreciate what you have, you are poor. You could live in a mansion, you could drive in luxury cars, but if you don't train yourself to appreciate it, you're poor as a church mouse because you got nothing. Everything I have stinks. Everything I have isn't good enough. I always need more. I need better. I need my life. Your life actually does stink. Then it's true, unless you train, and that's you so, gentlemen. Unless you train yourself to appreciate what you have, you will be poor, guaranteed. And more than that, and the minute you learn to train yourself to appreciate what you have, you'll be rich. Phenomenally wealthy, beyond any wealth of anybody. And Bill Gates is not as rich as a guy who trains himself to appreciate what he has. Because the guy who appreciates what he has, look at my riches. I have pleasures, and I have eyesight, and I have things that I look at. And I live in a house, and I have heat, and I have plumbing. And I once had a machlokas with my wife. We lived, Baruch Hashem, in a nice house, Muncie. And I came down one day to the kitchen, and I said, wow, this is granite. This is gorgeous. I studied a while, studying granite, mica for the different elements in it. And I said, this is such beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's like so amazing. And my wife was moved. I said, don't you appreciate how beautiful it's polished granite? It's so nice. It's amazing. She said, I said, don't you appreciate it? She said, I guess you're more Megushim than I am. You're more into Gashmis than I am. Now, them's fighting words. Them's fighting. No, it's not more Megushim. If you're given a bracha, you have to learn to appreciate it. That's not Gashmias. Gashmias is I need more and more and more and more. And if you're given a bracha, you have given, let's say I was granted a beautiful voice. I'm supposed to appreciate it. I'm supposed to recognize it, appreciate it. And I'm not supposed to be a Balgaiva. I didn't create it. I didn't make the voice. I mean, if you're given bracha, you're supposed to learn to appreciate it. You're supposed to learn to appreciate that which you have. You're supposed to train yourself. And if you don't, you're a poor man. All right. That's the story for tonight.
You make it sound so easy.
Okay. So, by the way, now, would you like to know if it's easy? It's very, 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 very tough, but it can be done. But you know how it can be done? And by training yourself. But training yourself means you have to write these things down. Like, I'll give you a good seer. If anybody would like a good shalom bayis, I have the simplest exercise that I guarantee will make your marriage so much better and make you so much happier and make you so much richer. And all you got to do is write down 10 things that your wife does for you. Now, most guys, if they paid attention for a minute, could write down a book of things. But write down 10 things that your wife does for you. She cooks for you, she cleans for you, she makes sure the house is in order. Write down 10 things. And then all you have to do is read those 10 things 10 times a day. And if you do that for 30 days, you'll have a sense of appreciation and of a sense of, wow, your marriage will improve dramatically because, first of all, you'll appreciate what your wife does for you. Secondly, you'll actually thank her and she'll recognize the fact that you appreciate what she does for you. And more than that, you'll be rich. You'll be happy. If you like to be rich in this life, all you have to do is write down your bracha and say them to yourself 10 times a day. I have hearing, I have eyesight, I have mobility, I'm healthy. I have to write these things down and you have to dwell on it. You have to think about it.
Sounds like brachas. Sounds like morning brachas.
A string of 16 brachas that we say every day. And Yeshiva Zatzal used to say it should be said with an outpouring of emotion. It should be a Musa B'Spaila Seder. Hashem pokeach ivrim, malbish arumim. Hashem, look what you've given to me. Zo kev kefufim, matir asurim. Roka Aretz Alamayim. Hashem, you make the. I could be walking in. You ever see what it's like in mud, what it's like in a swamp? Hashem, no, you make the earth. By the way, 70% of the earth's surface is water. The earth is covered mostly by water. How is it possible that wherever I walk is nice dry land? Because Hashem arranges it as such that all the oceans are contained in their areas. They don't overflow their bounds. That land mass is in this area. And despite all the global warming and all the climate change, the polar caps are not melting and we're still okay. Right? But Lamaisa, that recognizing the bracha, recognizing what I have. But you're right, when you say the brachas in the morning, if you actually pay attention, you have a rich life. You have a shiur, you have a tremendous, you have joy, because look what I have. Now that's not gashmias, that's appreciating what you have. But don't tell my wife. No, we duked it out.
I promise.
Right. So one time my wife was doing something amazing. My boss happened to be on the phone with him. He's like, "Tell your wife we'll put it in the art scroll book." So now every time my wife does something for me that's amazing, she's like, "It's for the art scroll book. It's for the art scroll book."
There you go. But it should go in your book, and you should read it and appreciate it. And again, do you understand the advantage?
Yeah, Rabbi, I'm writing that book. Trust me.
Good. Number one, you'll appreciate it. Number two, you'll actually tell her. When was the last time, gentlemen? Here's a question. When was the last time you said a sincere compliment to your spouse?
Today.
Yeah, but sincere?
Of course, every day, multiple times.
Okay.
You can't live with someone normally without that.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And most, by the way, you have to understand something. The one thing we human beings crave more than anything else is positive attention and recognition, acknowledgement. It's the one thing all human beings crave, and it's the one thing that no one ever gets enough of. And the greatest chesed you could ever do for a person is to acknowledge them and give them a sincere compliment. It's the greatest chesed. It changes their day, changes their week. It can make such a tremendous difference. And we're so stingy. Not going to come out of my lips. It's folly. It's foolish. If you train yourself to recognize what other people do well. By the way, Dale Carnegie, rule number one in life, successful peopling skills is what? If you would like to be hated, find what people do wrong and point it out to them. If you would like to be liked, find what people do right and point it out to them. It's very simple. If you like to be popular, if you'd like to be well liked by people, find what they do right and point it out to them. If you'd like to be hated, find what people do wrong and point it out to them. It's a guaranteed way. And it's people skills 101. Dale Carnegie.
It sounds almost opportunistic, though, no?
I'm sorry?
It sounds almost opportunistic, though, no?
All right, so you got to do it for the right reasons. I'm not saying to be, I'm not saying doing it because you want to. Right. I'm not saying you do it because you want to sell a guy a used car that's a lemon. I'm saying do it because it's the greatest chesed in the world. Do it because you want to help it, boost a person up. You want to give a person a sincere compliment goes. I once said this. I was a high school rebbe at this point for 10 years, and in my 10 years, I received 2 compliments, and one was from my father for grilling the chicken well. Now, if you think I'm kidding, I'm only half kidding. Now, I happen to be, for the record, I think I was.
The chicken wasn't grilled well?
No, the chicken was grilled well. I think I was a decent rebbe. I didn't think I did a half bad job. And I'm telling you, I received in 10 years 1 compliment. One compliment. Now, Baruch Hashem, I'm a pretty secure guy, and it didn't bother me, and I wasn't looking for it. I was okay. But after a while, I realized it because it was an interesting sort of thing. But okay, whatever. It's an interesting, and most people hunger for praise, and they never get it. And you can be the biggest Baal Chesed in the world if you can just see what people do right and point it out to them. You're giving them the greatest gift. You can't buy that with all the money in the world. You can be the richest guy in North America. You can't. That good feeling that a person has when you sincerely compliment them, when you acknowledge what they're worth and you acknowledge what they do well, that feeling you give a person is a gift greater than I don't know what it's diamonds, gold. It costs me nothing. It costs me zero. It doesn't cost me a thing. Why don't I do it? I can't do it. It's very sad. It's very sad. And again, it's the easiest chesed you could do.
It's free. It doesn't cost me anything.
It's free, and the side benefit is you'll be well liked. More than that, you'll be loved. I love it. The guys with the snide remarks, the cynical snide remarks, always criticizing everybody else. They got such sharp lines. Why are they so hated? You know why they're so hated? Because they're nasty. I don't like people who put me down. I don't like people who make fun of me. I don't like them. I do like people who sincerely compliment me. I do like people who acknowledge me and praise me. I very much like them, but I don't. So I'll give you one illustration and let it suffice it to this. I was a Rebbe here in Chavetz Chaim, Monsey, and Rabbi Feuerman was invited in to help the Mechanchim. Rabbi Feuerman had been my 8th grade principal, and over the years I kept up with him. He was a Mechanech, a brilliant man, a tremendous Mechanech, and he used to consult to the yeshivas. They pay him a very substantial sum to help the Rebbeim, in their chinuch. So, in any case, Rabbi Mezer, who was the Menahel, told me that tomorrow Rabbi Feuerman is going to come into my class and he's going to observe. Now, I was not looking forward to this. Number one, I like Rabbi Feuerman. And number two, I know what he's being paid to do. And he's being paid to help the Rebbe teach, meaning find what he's doing wrong and point it out to him. So I wasn't looking forward to whatever. Okay, anyway, I'm teaching, and Rabbi Feuerman walks in and Rabbi Mezer walks in, they sit in the back. And as I'm teaching, Rabbi Feuerman's scribbling away. As I'm teaching, scribbling away. I look over, he's writing. Hold on, I'm talking, he's writing. I'm like, I know where this is going. Okay, afterwards he said, I'd like to see you in the office. So I walked into the office and I knew what to expect. And Rabbi Feuerman said, I just wanted to comment about what you're teaching. It was excellent, masterful class. I said, thank you very much. And I said, that's it. It was masterful. Your engagement, the guys were so involved. It was just masterful, just fantastic. Now, I knew that they don't pay him big bucks to come in and compliment people. I said, so what? He said, no, that was it. I have nothing to say. Gentlemen, I walked out of that room. I was high as a kite. And I said to myself, if Rabbi Feuerman had then said to me, I would like you to fly to the moon without a spacesuit, I would have said, where is the launch pad? Do you understand? I'm not a feeble guy. I'm not one of these, like, I need people's praises. I'm not like, I'm very secure. Baruch Hashem, my mother brought me up well. I'm very happy with myself. I'm very secure. But that was a sincere compliment. I was like, whoa, I like there was wind in my sail. I was floated out of there. Do you understand? It's the greatest gift you can give somebody. If you can notice what they do right and actually point it out to them, you're giving them the greatest gift. You're giving them the greatest chesed. You're doing the biggest hatava in the world. And the side benefit is you're going to be popular and well-liked, as opposed to if you notice what people do wrong. And by the way, especially in your family, gentlemen, criticism is the avi avos hatuma. Avi avos hatuma. Avi avos hatuma. Criticism is the most destructive force. It destroys relationships, just avoid it at all costs. And anyone who says, well, I'm makbid about the mitzvah of tochacha, you're a nar. You don't know what the mitzvah is. And mitzvah tocha is not to rebuke people. Mitzvah tocha not to put people down. And mitzvah tocha is, as the Aruch HaSadikim explains, l'tovaso ata omer. You're saying it for his good. You're saying it out of love. You wanted to help him. As my grandson, who's 5 years old, he's 6 years old, said, my grandson said to me, my 10-year-old grandson said to me, there's a boy in the class. I know for sure he doesn't say all the words. He davens way too fast. Do you think I should tell him that he's, not saying all the words? His 6-year-old brother says, no, don't do that. It's going to make him feel badly. Don't do that. I was like, whoa. Of course it's going to make him feel bad. And is it going to change him? No. Is it going to help him? No. So why do you want to point it out? I want to point it out because your writing reflex. You want to be the good guy. But don't do it because it's damaging. Don't do it because it's hurtful. And don't do it because it does no good and it only does damage. And that's the moral of the story. All right.
How does that apply to one's kids, Rabbi? Because you have to mechanech your kids, right? How do you balance?
So chinuch, let me be very clear. Chinuch and criticism are two very, very different things. Chinuch is helping them, molding them, shaping them. Criticism is pushing them, smashing them, hitting them over the head, destroying them. Let me say that again. Chinuch is being mechanech them, setting them on the way, directing them. Criticizing them is taking a hammer and bludgeoning them, hitting them over the head with it. And what can I tell you? If people mistake
delivery? Everything's delivery? How you say it?
No, it's way more than delivery. It's what are you doing? What are you trying to accomplish? If your goal is
And
to get
teach
the
your
kid
kids to do the right thing.
right, so let me make it very clear. If your goal is to make your kid hate Judaism, continue doing it that way. If your goal is to make your kids hate school, continue. I'll give you a simple tzir. I had a guy in here. They got married. They were both on the same level, and he started turning from. Meaning they got married. They're both kind of modern, and he started turning from. He's now in Kollel and he's learning, and she's nowhere near. And I was trying to explain to him that what he's doing is he's choking her. And if you just give her some space, she'll probably be frummer than him, but he's pushing her down. And I said, let me ask you, what was it like when you were 16? Did your father ever tell you to go to Minyan? Yeah. Did he make you go? Yeah. Did he yell at you to be quiet? Yeah. How did it feel? He said to me, oh my goodness. Do you mean I'm like my father? Oh my God. I'm my father. Oh, you don't understand something. It hit him like a thunderbolt. He was exactly what he hated about his father. What his father did to him, he was doing to his wife. He didn't realize he started doing for the Man Hashem and right. If you want to be mechanech your children, you have to ask yourself, how can I mold them? How can I shape them? How can I help them be the best version of them? The first thing in chinuch is, what is your goal as a mechanech? What is your goal as a parent? To see the strengths of your child and bring it out. The child is a diamond, and your goal is to bring out the diamond. Your goal is to see the strengths, the talents, the ability of a child and help them shine. Your job as a parent is not to mold them into the form that you believe should be. Your job is not to shoehorn them into the yeshiva system. Your job is to see the strength of your child and help them, guide them, and direct them, show them the best way you can. But that means help them become what they can be. It doesn't mean shh, shh. A guy said to me, this is another story. Martin, you got to hear the story. A guy said to me, I was terrible. I only knew I was terrible when my kids said to me, Daddy, it's not fair. How come you tell us all the time to be quiet in shul and you get to talk as much as you want? You hear? He would tell his kids, shh, and he'd talk away. So let me tell you the secret. The secret is, if you want to be mechanech your kid, you have to ask yourself, what is the most effective way for me to guide my child, direct my child, and to help them on the way? I guarantee it's not, shh, be quiet. We got to stop it. You did it again. You blew it. 10 points off. You're going to bed early. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, we all do it. We think it's good, but it's not good. It's damaging. It's destructive. The best thing you can do is find what your kid does well and make sure you notice it, compliment them, praise them, help guide them. But the idea of being a critical tyrant, it's just, it doesn't work. It makes you, again, it's not chinuch. It's not. What does Rashi say chinuch means, by the way? It's like setting, what's it, mechanech? It's the first step in the process. It's putting him on the road, like Chanukah Samizbeach. What does Chanukah Samizbeach means? It's a starting out. The first time you use the Mizbeach, you inaugurate it. You set it on the path. You set the child on the path, and you send him on the path, and hopefully he'll follow it. But your job is not to criticize, to rebuke, to hold the whip. Your job is to help your child become the best they can be. But that requires a lot of wisdom and a lot of self-control, and not what we typically do. All right, what are we up to now? We are, oh my goodness, we're wow.
Question 3B.
3B. Yeah, should we do this? Should we put it all together in one fell swoop? Who's still into this?
Thursday, we gotta knock it off Thursday.
Yeah, we got to put it together. All right, so we have one last question that really, I'm going to jump right to the Rabbi Yochanan, to Rabbi Amram and Tosus, and let's see if we can put it together. Is Jake here? Jake, you with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Here we go, Jake. Here we go. Let's see if we can put this all together. Okay, let me just get to my right slide. 1 second. I'm going to jump all the way to the end. Where's my Tosus? All the way to the end. First of all, Jake is correct. The answer to question 1 is, remember we said, what is the machlokas? Jake pointed out, he's really right. The easiest way to learn machlokas is certainly that, meaning again, Rabbi Yochanan says there's some gula tefillah at night, and Rabbi Shimon Levi says there is not, right? So the question is, what are they arguing about? So this step of Hashem and us is correct, but it's a much easier way to say it. Is very simple like this: that meaning it depends for who, and for Hashem, for us. Meaning for us, the Geula was complete at night. Why? Because Paro said, "Get out," and we were ready to go. Well, let's go. We're free. But Hashem promised Avram, and then I'm going to send them out Baruch Gadol. So the Geula wasn't complete yet. So Klape Hashem, it was not complete. And in terms of it being like an Eitz Rotzon, like there's certain times that an Eitz Rotzon, right? When we ask Hashem that it should be an Eitz Rotzon. It wasn't an Eitz Rotzon because Klape Hashem, it wasn't a Geula. And therefore, there's no iyun, according to Shmuel Levi, no iyun to be someone Geula Tzilah at night. Why? Because no Geula. Now, Klape us, there was a Geula. And Yochanan learns there is a Geula at night. Why? Because by us, we were Nigalu. And really, according to him, the Geula is an internal condition. When I focus on that freedom, when I focus on that sense, I was in the base of Adam and I was freed, and that joy, that happiness will propel my tefillah to a new level. So mitzad us, it was Geula. Therefore, says Rabbi Yochanan, of course, you have to do some Geula tefillah. Rabbi Shmuel Levi says, no, Geula means an Eitz Rotzon. It's Hashem is in a Kaviyach, it could be in a better mood, meaning it's an Eitz Rotzon, but it wasn't Eitz Rotzon. Why? Because it wasn't a Geula, Klapi Hashem. So that is very easy.
What's Rabbi Yochanan's understanding at Shachris? Is it the same as Rabbi Ben Levi, or is he hold
everybody agrees.
It's us all day?
Meaning everybody agrees on Shachris there was a Geula, and Rabbi Yochanan agrees it's even a bigger Geula. I guess there it's everybody, meaning it's Klapi Hashem, Klapi us, Klapi, you have both of it. So it's Eitz Rotzon.
Holds either or. It has to be either for Hashem or for us.
Well, yeah, but the morning is both.
In the morning, it's both. We're both the morning and the.
No, I'm saying in the morning, meaning everybody agrees the morning is good. Why? Because the morning is both for Hashem and for us. So it's double. It's Eitz Rotzon and emotion motivating. I mean, even Rabbi Yochanan agrees there's more iyun to be somewhat Geula Tefillah in Shachris than by Mariv, right? Well, look, if you walk in Mariv, the tzibur is up to close to Shmon Esrei. So, right, the lacha is you start Shmon Esrei with the tzibur, and daven afterwards, daven Baruch Hu, daven the Yotzamar, the Berachos Kriya Shema, and all the way till
the end. Yochanan agrees the Pachim Punim by Shachris, or he holds it's not.
No Pachim Punim. We're dropping it. You don't need that svara. No insult to the king at this point. It's a different.
You don't need Levi either?
Nope. According to Shmuel, you see, the question is, Klape, who was the Geula? In other words, meaning, is it an Eitz Rotzon or is it an emotional charge for me? So according to Shmuel Levi, what is the Geula? The Geula is an Eitz Rotzon when Hashem is, if it could be happier, Hashem relives the Geula if it could be. And therefore, it's an Eitz Rotzon. But says Rabbi Shmuel Levi, at night there was no Geula. Klapi Hashem, there's no Geula. So it wasn't an Eitz Rotzon. But to us, and Rabbi Yochanan says, the Geula is to us. To us, it was a Geula at night. And therefore, says Rabbi Yochanan, there isn't any to be some Geula Tefillah.
This doesn't tie into the two readings of Rashi? It does.
At this point, it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to at all. Independent of this Rashi.
It's not that according to the side that it's Lagabe Hashem that you need that we were looking at the chutzpah Hashem.
Right. No. In fact, we don't need at this point. We don't need that svara at all. If we need it at all, and we might need something similar to that to answer Rabbi Yochanan, the Rabbi Amram, and Tosas what the movement there was. All right. So let's jump to that. Are everybody good with this? Jake, we're good.
Yeah, I was just wondering also how does Rav Ashi work now? Meaning, I think the way we were explaining Rav Ashi was in the context of it not being disrespectful because he already asked his strachah before.
Right.
So does that still all stem or?
It all stems, but a little bit differently. I'll show you a very good. Watch this. Okay, why is Chover Rishus the reason to be Soma Gula? Right. Meaning, let's set things up so we understand clearly. Says Tosas. Says Tosas, you have to be careful about Soma Gula Tefillah, and if we don't talk between Gal Yisrael and Shemon Esrei. That's what Tosas says, because how do I know this? And the Bryce is like Rabbi Yochanan, and therefore don't do it. However, says Tosas Miu, B'Seder of Amram, he says, no, the opposite. Why do we say Kaddish between Gula, Gal Yisrael, and Shemon Esrei? And it's to teach us that you don't have to be Soma Gula Tefillah. The Arvis rishus. You don't have to do some gula tefillah because Marav is rishus. So I think we should scratch our head and say, what does that have to do? Meaning, either you have to do some gula tefillah or not. Why is it? Because Marav is rishus. Oh, that's why you don't have to do some gula tefillah. Who cares? Why is it totally on that? You know what I'm saying? Meaning, there's an interesting machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua Levi. Is there smicha gula tefillah at night or not? Rabbi Yochanan says there is. Rabbi Shua Levi says there isn't. Okay, good. Now there's another unrelated machlokas, and that is Marav. Is it a chova or a shus? What does one have to do with the other? Says Rambam. If you're going to say the reason we put the kaddish is to show you gufa that it's a rishus, and that's why you don't have to be some gula tefillah. Why is one dependent on the other?
If it's rishus, one could hear that it's difficult to say at the same time that you have to do anything. The whole thing's a rishus. So why you tell me I have to do anything? It's a rishus.
You know, if you do it, it's like, I want to ask you a question. If you daven Shemona Esrei by Marav, do you have to stand up when you do it?
Yes.
You don't have to do anything. Why
I feel you're supposed to. If someone has a problem, then they can.
But why do you have to? You don't have to daven at all. So say it's sitting down. The answer is you don't have to do it, but if you do it like a mensch. This is how you do it.
So that's how I read Tosfos's shot when he comes and says after this Ramam, he says.
What does Ramam say?
I don't know. That he holds differently. He holds if it's rishus that
he holds differently. So I'm trying to understand how he holds. Right, exactly. Apparently it seems to be chover rishus is the reason be some gula tefillah. The question is why? All right, so gentlemen, I want to tell you a big chiddush. There's one step that we're missing. Are you ready for the step? I got a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful step here. Knocking on the door. See that little graphic? Isn't that nice? Watch this. Let's carefully read Rashi. Right? The man comes to a good friend of the king, comes, knocks on the door of the king. The king comes out and sees his friend's gone. The king says, he's leaving, I'm leaving. Don't do that. Rather, a person should be Mekarav Hashem to him. Anybody notice something wrong with this Rashi?
He says a love when it's the first part seems to talk about Hashem, and then he says a love to himself.
A love, vumiskarev a love, but a lot of karavs love. Watch it again. Watch what Rashi's saying. Eliyada mekarav lakadosh baruch hu love. How you mekarav lakadosh baruch do? Wait, if he's close to you already, what do you mean now? Now you mean be mekaravim by the shvachas of Yisrael? No, that's not what Rashi's saying. Rashi says, be mekarav Hashem to you, and now that Hashem is close, now make him even closer with these tishbachos. How do you get Hashem close to you? What's a knocking on the door? Meaning, you should make Hashem close to you, knock on the door, and then once Hashem is close, then say the shvachos of Yitzias Mitzrayim, make Hashem even closer, and then be Tevei Yitzrach. What's the first knocking on the door?
Shema?
I don't know. But there's something knocking on the door before you're saying Gal Yisrael, isn't there? Jake, you hear this?
Yep.
Okay, this is a question. What is a knocking on the door? You know what the answer is, gentlemen? When you're coming to make a request, that's what's knocking on the door. I got a request to make. That's called knocking on the door. And when you knock on the door to make a request, and then what you do is Hashem comes out. So Hashem so Hashem will come even closer and now make your request. But what's the knocking on the door? The knocking on the door is coming to make a request. We don't immediately ask, it's a problem. Meaning, what, gentlemen? Meaning, is it a lack of a positive or is it a negative? Meaning, what I mean by that is very simply, when you're coming to knock on the door, right? Meaning, let's say, what's knocking on the door? I need something. Hashem, please help me. I need something, right? Okay, I need something. So I need something. I'm knocking on the door. And when I'm knocking on the door, then when Hashem comes out, I say the shvachos, the tishbachos, right? Of Yitzias Mitzrayim, then make your request. But gentlemen, what if I don't have to make a request? If I don't have to make a request, I'm not knocking on the door. because I don't have to make a request. It's only, for instance, on Shabbos, am I making a request? No, there's no bakashas. And if Ma'ariv is Rishus, I don't have to ask, so I'm not coming to make a request. I might make a request, but I don't have to. So it's not that like I'm being marat. It's not like I'm knocking on the door. Hashem comes out. I didn't knock on the door. There's nothing wrong with saying Gal Yisrael and then interrupting if you didn't knock first and you didn't create this setup. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with complimenting Hashem and then walking away. It's if you knock on the door, you praise Hashem, bring him closer, and then you walk away. That's a problem. Am I being totally unclear?
So then why not be Somek Ulatfil anyway? What's the downside?
I mean, you don't have to be, meaning there's no reason to be Somek Gula Tefillah because there's no advantage to it, really.
But there's no disadvantage either, it sounds like, right?
No disadvantage, but when it tells Allah that you don't have to do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with ever doing Somek Gula. Even according to Rabbi Shimon Levi, I don't think it's also to be Somek Gula Tefillah.
Except he says it's preferable to Shema afterwards. So.
They put it, for a different reason, but they put Kaddish in to tell us, according to Rav Amram, and that there's no necessity to be Somek Gula Tefillah. There's nothing wrong with doing it. It's a fine thing to do.
So what's the answer to Rebbe's question then? What does doing Rishus have to do with not being Somech?
Rabbi Yochanan says you have to do Somech Gula Tefillah. You know why? And because since you have to daven Mariv, you're coming to make a request that's knocking on the door. And when you knock on the door, if you then praise Hashem and walk away, you interrupt, it's an insult to the king. You knocked on the door, and then you don't make a request, and you interrupt. That's an insult to, not so much an insult to the king, but it's like I would say, like an insult to the king. Here's where we use a sort of insult to the king in the sense that you knocked on the door, asked Hashem to come out, but what you're not going to do because you have a bakasha to make. You have to daven Mariv. Mariv has 13 bakashas in the middle, 13 brachas of bakasha. So you come to knock on the door. If you come to knock on the door and you interrupt, what?
Now that it's a rishus, how does that change?
So then there's no bakasha. You don't have to make a request.
You're going to make a request. You're going to do it. You are going to do it.
You do it. It's not a chutzpah because you're not coming to make a request necessarily. Certainly not when you start Gal Yisrael. You don't have to. You could end right after Gal Yisrael and walk away. You don't have to down Mariv at all. You don't have to down the Midah.
When we say Mariv is a rishus, is that talking specifically about Shemona Esrei?
Only Shemona Esrei. Right. The brachas are.
Not talking about the brachas.
No,
the brachas are chiyuv.
Yeah, it's a Mishnah. The Mishnah says 2 brachas before Shnai Lefanei Shnai Acharei, and that's for sure chiyuv. The question is the Amida. And Shemona Esrei you don't have to say. That's a machlokas.
Elamai, what's Tosas saying then when he says Rabbi Yochanan holds its rishus and he still holds it to use Somech Gula Tefillah?
Yeah, so Rabbi Yochanan is so Tosas Machadish and Nutzad, and that even though it's a rishus, and you have to say, and Tosas not so sure about it, but he says you have to say that it's still there's an Indian being Somech Gula Tefillah, meaning something like what you were saying, but Tosas not so happy with it. Tosas really is like a dochuk, like you have to say that there is still an Indian of being Somech Gula.
Once you're going to do it, you do it right.
Right, like just you have to stand up for Shemona Esrei, put your feet together. It's a rishus, yeah, but you have to do it because that's like Chazal set it up. I think that's the step. Jake, are we together on this?
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense. Good, good. It's an interesting sugya. It wasn't what I hoped to be, but it's an interesting one. And now, gentlemen, for next sugya, which hopefully starts Sunday night, I want it to be a short sugya because I want to start Hanukkah on time. So I hope to do the next sugya we're going to do is Tefillah B'tzibur, which is a little bit of a hot topic over here. So I hope it to be a quick sugya. I'd like to maybe won't even say Chadushim, just learn some of the shitas because I really want to start the Hanukkah sugya.
It's 3 weeks from tonight.
What?
Right? Isn't it? Hanukkah's 3 weeks from tonight.
No, no. What? Rosh Chodesh was Monday. Rosh Chodesh was Monday. Chaf Hei Oivei, 3 weeks.
3 weeks. So how are we going to do 2 sugyahs in 3 weeks?
So maybe we'll spend a week on maybe with no Chadushim. You know what we'll do? That's what we'll do. We're going to do just Tefillah B'tzibur. We'll do it's a very quick sugya with no Chadushim.
Let's finish by the end of Hanukkah. Maybe we'll finish by the end of Hanukkah instead of the beginning of Hanukkah.
I'll look on the calendar. Maybe we could do it in a week. Maybe we could do it in 1 week. Tefillah b'tzibur, meaning no chedushim, just setting up the sugya. And there's some interesting shitas davening at the same time as the tzibur and davening with the tzibur. Whatever, so some interesting machzas a shekel. It's a and it's an interesting. Maybe we can let's see how quick we go through it. Because I wanted what I'd like to do this year is hanacha. Adlaka Osamitzah, Hanacha Osamitzah, because that's a very cool thing. All right,
that means our second year of doing Hanukkah sugya. It's amazing.
I know, it's interesting, right? So Jake says we should just do the same sugya as last year and just repeat it. And
you can say the exact same word for word, and Mamish will still get as excited as the first time. Just bring down the recording from last year. Make sure to take it down so we don't.
I'm just going to play the recording. I'm not going to be on.
Like all those Torah Anytime live performances.
Exactly. Almost live.
Like they had these live performances, and these Rabbanim Eretz Yisrael was like 3:00 in the morning when they were supposedly performing live, and it was like you could tell it was pre-recorded.
Right. All right, gentlemen, good. So I'll send out the Marmakon. So starting with Hashem Sunday night, we'll start the new sugya, and hopefully be real quick, and then we'll get into the Hanukkah shortly after. All right.
Have a great Shabbos.
All right, a good Shabbos.
Glad to see you got home safely.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Glad I met it. Thank you. Have a great Shabbos.
Great Shabbos. Okay.
Take care of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
I'm at the Marriott.